Joseph.
Yeah, what do you know about the Davis line?
Probably not much more of what's in the book.
What book?
Our,
Oh, that book.
James Davis was maybe the third son in a family of, I don't know, about 6 or 7 children. I can't remember. He was born in 1840.
In England?
In England.
What part?
In London.
Okay.
I mean London, down by the docks. It was a very busy place, and London was apparently as cosmopolitan in those days as it is today. People from all over the world came because England was the center of the universe, and the area he lived in was poor. He apparently was employed as a excuse me, a carman. One census calls him a carman, which means that he was basically a taxi driver.
Carriage.
Yeah, with a carriage, with a horse-drawn carriage. In fact, that's how he died. Excuse me. He somehow got caught between the wheel of the carriage and the curb, and apparently the horse pulled the carriage or something, and it ran over his head.
So who is this that you're telling us
This was George Davis, the father of James Davis. Anyway, George received the gospel from his youngest brother, a guy by the name of David Davis, who had previously joined the church. And George and James and Edward, the next son after James, all joined the church. The mother never did. And the two, well, and then there were 2 other older brothers. One of them never joined the church, and one of them who ultimately did join the church after kind of doing a hiatus around the world to Australia and back. Anyway, James was, as he records, was very much into the gospel. He had close friends in the branch in what they call the branch. Can't remember.
But in London?
Yeah, right in east end of London. And at the age of 16, he convinced his parents that he should go to Zion with his buddy, who apparently was at least alone in the gospel, or maybe alone in the world, I don't know. But this other boy said, "I'm going to Zion, and why don't you come with me?" And then there was a family named Middleton, and they were also going, and their son made a threesome. You know, these were close-knit boys in the branch. And he, I guess, was a good salesman. He got his parents to let him go.
Whose mother wasn't even a member.
That's right, she wasn't even a member. And they went down to the docks to see him off, and at the last minute, George just said, "I'm sorry, but I can't let you go." You know, this is just too much.
This is his father.
This is his father. So he obediently gave up the idea and said he was bitterly disappointed. But some years later, after he actually did immigrate, he found out that the Middleton family and the orphan boy all got put in the Martin Handcart Company. And if you read anything about the Martin Handcart Company, you'll read the name Middleton, because there's a story about David O. McKay that he related about an incident down in southern Utah. There was a Sunday school class. This was probably in the close to the 1900s, and the Sunday school teacher was just really downing the decisions to go on that company. And this old fellow stood up and said, "I was in that company, and let me tell you, that's what we were supposed to do, and don't say that there was a lot of poor decisions along the way." Anyway,
T. Middleton?
no, but that man was in the Martin Handcart Company, and he basically helped the Middleton family survive. He went back when they were lagging behind and helped them come up and helped them across the river.
There were times when that handcart was, he said, unseen hands were pulling that handcart.
Yeah. Anyway, James said, I guess if I'd have gone on, this is so cute, said if I'd have gone then, I'd be a dead Davis.
A dead Davis.
But his friends both made it. His Middleton friend and the orphan boy.
No, the orphan boy died. He never made it. But the Middleton family apparently all made it. Yeah. And the reason James went to Cedar City after he got to Utah was because that's where the Middletons lived. So they picked up on that relationship. But there was also another thing about it. James waited. He was 16 then. He didn't emigrate for another 6 years, I think. That would have been 1856. Yeah, another 6 years, 1862. He emigrated. By that time, he'd grown up some and had his eyes on a young girl in the branch. And that was Mary Elizabeth Fretwell. And she wanted to come to Zion, and they kind of promised themselves to each other. But he went 1 year, and she couldn't go until the next year. She didn't have any money yet.
Did he come on the perpetual immigration fund money?
No. He says that he went to a meeting one night where Elder Francis Lyman of the Quorum of the 12 was in attendance, and Elder Lyman said, "I'm out of money. Is there anybody here that can help me?" And nobody could, and James kind of looked around, saw nobody was helping him. And he had some money in his pocket that he was going to pay his debts with the next day, but he gave all he had to Elder Lyman. And he got an apostolic blessing. He said, "My boy, you will have the greatest desires of your heart fulfilled." And he said, "Well, that was no problem at all." He said, "I knew what that was, and that was to go to Zion." And he said he could save nearly all the money he had, and he said, "I sailed on the next ship." And he really struggled to try to get enough money together to go. So anyway, he came. The next year she came, and they got married that year and went to Cedar City. And then you know the story of what happened on the San Juan
We
expedition.
listened to that book on tape.
Yeah. And Mary's child that she was pregnant with, the whole journey, was born about 2 weeks after they got to San Juan.
They said the first white child born or something.
Yeah, and that was our grandmother,
That was your grandmother, and her name was?
Ethel Olive Davis.
Okay. Huh. So, but when they didn't stay there for long, I mean, they endured this arduous journey and go down there and
Well, they were 5 years.
or there 5 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Must have seemed like an eternity, but
It certainly did to Mary. she was the one who was adamant that they go. But she was also the one that probably had the hardest life in the whole thing. She had three girls born while they were there, and then they had that massive flood that just wiped out the whole settlement. I don't know if you've been down there. You know, we were down there a few years
I've
ago.
not been there myself.
And you looked around where that river ran, and it was nothing but cobblestones and river rock for yards and yards beyond the river boundaries. And they had all settled in the river bottom because that's where the really good soil was. And it just wiped everything out. There was nothing left. So they were released, and their stake president said, you ought to either go to the Snake River Valley or the Bear Lake Valley. And so they chose the Bear Lake Valley. I think largely because I think it was James's younger brother, Edward, who had already settled in the Bear Lake Valley, so they decided to go up there where he was.
That was like the difference between night and day, wasn't it?
I think so.
That apostle that released them for that, what was his name?
I think it was still Erastus Snow. He was the one.
That's who.
He's the one that called them.
He's the one that called all those people to go.
That's right, and he's the one that came down and surveyed it, all the damage and everything, and released them to go.
So did most of them then leave after their release?
I think most of them did, but a lot of them stayed. In fact, you could go down there today and and look at the names of the people living there, and they'd all be, for the most part, descendants of those people that stayed.
That's Blanding and...
Yeah, Blanding and Bluff
Montezuma.
and Montezuma. Yeah,
And,
a lot of Reds. And what were some of the others? There was that Jensen, wasn't it Jensen, or was it a Nielsen? That was the bishop. I think he was
Nielsen, Nielsen.
Was he a Nielsen?
I think the story said it was a...
Yeah, the one that was a longtime bishop there. He had a lot of posterity there. Yeah, there were quite a few that stayed.
So they went...
He came through the hole in the rock, right?
you know,
Yeah.
that was part of our mission down there.
Yeah,
When we,
What?
it was transferred in from the New Mexico mission when we were about 2/3 of our mission. And we took that over.
and did you visit the wards down there?
Yeah, we visited, we weren't down there a lot, but we visited with the bishop. And actually what we had to do is, the New Mexico mission had a couple missionaries down there that had given up. And they just weren't doing much of anything, so we transferred them out. And put a couple more missionaries in there that really picked up on it. And it actually turned into a pretty good little proselyting area after that.
There's Four Corners in that area too?
Yeah,
That is?
that's not too far from Four Corners.
Yeah.
I've never been to Four Corners.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much there to see.
No, there's a monument there, as I recall, with Arizona on one side, Utah on another side, New Mexico on the other side, and what was the other
Probably
state?
Colorado.
Colorado, yeah,
Yeah.
it was Colorado, yeah.
Yeah.
When we